Hey there, it's Debbie, and I'm so glad to see you back with us. I know that if you're watching this video, you're at what I would call a logjam, a roadblock, an obstacle, something that you're looking for a solution on how to get past this. So in our dog training world, we would call this looking for our next step, or if you're just getting started, we would say, I don't know what to do next. And we've all been there, right? It's the place where you've got an idea, you get going, and then the next day you get up and you go, huh? Like, literally, what do? I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. I don't know what my next step is going to be. So this video is going to help you out in whatever area of your life you're having that problem. And don't freak out. Dog people, don't freak out, because this is as applicable to dog training as it is to business, as it is to a sport you might be involved in, a hobby that you have, dealing with your family, anything like that. If you followed my training, and I hope you will, we've got amazing resources, and I love creating stuff for you guys. You'll know that I'm all about the foundations. The foundations in anything is like a house. North America, we call it a house of cards. I don't know what you call it around the world, but what happens when you build something and you forgot, or you didn't know, or you missed that fundamental building block, and all of a sudden things are going along great and boom, crashes. So everything I'm going to teach you over the next number of weeks is going to be all about how to make sure that those foundations are the most brilliant, because I'm here to help you, your dog, your business, your family, everything become the very best that you possibly can be. And we all don't start there. We're certainly all not there now, but we can get there. What I want to tell you is that being at a logjam, being at a roadblock, being somewhere where you don't know what the next step is, you don't know where to begin, you don't know how to start, there is only 5 possible things that it could be. It's not 100, it's not 20, it's 5. It's one of 5 things. So we're going to talk about those. So once I get into this training, you're going to go, Debbie, this isn't anything new. And I want to say to you that you're going to find that most of the stuff that you find as you're learning is not something new. You just haven't thought about it in that way. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the word why. And I'm not going to get all deep and funky on you and tell you you need to find a passion or you need to find any of that sort of stuff. I'm going to tell you something very simple, because there's a reason why in this order. Now let me just put this up on the board for you so you remember what they are. The first one that we're going to talk about is why. And please excuse my back. Why? So if you don't know the reason why you want to find the next step, or to begin this process, or to start doing something, so whether you're brand new at it, or whether you're a brand new dog owner, whether you're an experienced dog owner, whether you're someone with a new dog that's posing some challenges that you don't know what it is, whether you're a professional trainer, you need to know why. Why do I want to do this? And this is my very first one that I always do, because you can do you can sort of research through the other 4, but if you don't know this, the other 4 fall apart. So let's talk about the reasons why. Why might you want to do this? Well, first of all, first and foremost, super important, because you have an objective. Whether you call it a goal, a target, an objective, something like that, that would be one of the reasons why you would want to do this. Number 2, and these can be interchangeable, but they're very, very close to the top. Second one, it's because it's fun. Why the heck would you want to do something if it isn't fun? And let me qualify, fun isn't the same for everybody. I'm not someone who goes out and parties and gets all dressed up and fancy stuff like that. I have some good friends that are like that. Not for me. Fun is a different kind of fun. So that's an important piece. Do you have an objective? Do you have a goal? And we'll talk about that a little bit later in some other trainings, and there's lots of it out there, but I like to look at it a specific way. Is it fun? Am I looking to learn something? Am I looking to make this thing better? Am I looking for a solution to a problem? So here's something else to think about for the dog people. I'm looking for a next step because my dog says we're ready to go to the next step, or I need another challenge. So maybe it's not you that's dictating the next step, maybe it's your dog. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your relationship, maybe it's your hobby. I want to do that. So think about those different things. And the last one to think about, and there's a million different things. Don't get overwhelmed. You just need to find the one or two things that tell you why you want to do things. So the last one, this one is super, super important to me, is I want to do things to inspire others, to motivate them, to give them some ideas, some inspiration. Super important that you understand that why. Now, where do we go next? So in my process, the next step would be, I'm going to do it in a different color. So, and I hope you can see this. What? What am I looking to do? So why do I look at what? Well, let me tell you, in each one of these, I'm going to give you some positives and some negatives of these particular questions. So in what, when you look and you've got, let's say you've gone through why, and now you've got a pile of things that are potential next steps, and you can't make a decision, because fundamentally that's what a roadblock is, that's what a logjam is. You cannot make a decision. You are stuck on the fence of indecision. So one of the things that what does when you ask what is that you can bring in lots of ideas, lots of inspiration, which is a plus. But on the negative side, those whats don't tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. So you've just actually caused yourself a little bit more problem. That's a negative. And remember, the first part of it is the positive, the ideas and the inspiration. So you've got that scale. You've got what is good, what is not so good. So a couple that come to mind right off the bat when I'm helping people that are stuck, and they're stuck at the what. They've got all these ideas, but they don't know whether what they're looking at is high quality, whether it's good quality, whether it's based in science, good practice, all that type of stuff. Remember, you need to have a mechanism of being able to filter good from bad. Good, and I'm not even going to say bad, because there's some stuff that's out there that's, for one person, might be bad, and for another person, it might be exactly the right thing that they need. The other piece is that with your dogs, you don't know what's right for your dog. And that's an area that I am so passionate about, because I see it all the time in a Facebook group that I'm part of, is that people watch stuff, they see stuff, they go out and they try it, and it is so wrong for their dogs. They're physically hurting the dogs, they're creating confusion, they're lacking confidence, all those things. So that's what's one of the challenges with what, is it doesn't answer those questions. So on the other side, when you look at what, and this, you'll see how this comes together a little bit later. I'm not talking about the actual thing that you're going to learn. I'm talking about the modality in which you learn it, or the location in which you learn it. There is a tremendous amount of positive benefit of Facebook groups, of communities, because they add accountability, they add feedback, they add advice, all that type of stuff. So that's some of the goods of what, when you look at what mechanism, what modality am I going to learn it? Well, you'll see how that fits in a little bit later on. And just remember, there is a checklist that goes with this, because while this is designed to help you get off the fence of indecision, to know what your next step is, where do you begin, when you're watching it, you may find that it's a little bit deep, because I like to give you guys value, because I like to help you guys think and get those thoughts going, so you can go, oh yeah, I remember that. That's where I need to go next. Okay, so step number 3 is, I bet you guessed it. No, you didn't guess it, because it's alphabetically out of order. It is how. And I'm going to use another color here, because you know why I put how here? I know why I want to learn something. I know why I want to take the next step. I know why I want to start, begin, anywhere you are. I know what I want to learn. I know the goods and the bads of that. But what happens when you get like that? You've fixed all those pieces. You've got the answers to those 2 things. And we're not talking about sitting down for like a week and doing this. This is like a really quick 20-minute exercise. You can go boom, 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 boom. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it started. How? How am I going to find this? That is a critical piece. That's why how doesn't go any earlier on, or why it doesn't go any later. Because how can help you find your what. Now, when we talk about the how is what I would call the modality, the method, the platform that you are going to learn, and that's what we're here for, right? We're here to learn. We're going to learn the what. Now, a couple of things. I'm going to go back to the board here, because I think this is super important for me to write down. One of the things that's really important about the how. You got the how? I'm just going to get rid of this arrow for just a minute here. The how can be customized. That's a really, really good bonus point, because there is no one-size-fits-all solution to anything that you do. I don't care what other people say. You know, whether it's group classes, whether it's whatever, you know, in the dog training world. You've heard me say this a lot over the last year. I was in that world. I can speak from 100% integrity. Group classes are not the be-all and the end-all. They really aren't. In fact, they can cause more problems than someone training their individual dog. So they can be customized for the thing that works right for you. There are so many solutions out there for budget, because how, in a lot of reasons, a lot of people would like to take the $5,000 course or the $2,000 course, but the reality is they only have a $175 budget. That's important to know, because if you know why you want to do something and you know what you want to do, then you have to fit it into this. And if budget doesn't work right now, then you start putting a plan together and you go, okay, what could I do? You see that we create a little bit of a loop here. Let me get rid of this arrow. It's kind of distracting, kind of anal in that respect. How will determine the package in which you look at. Because some people, and I'm going to tell you from statistics, that over 80% of people who sign up for an online course never complete it. Never. They don't go back to it a year later, they don't go back to it 6 months later, they just go back. They pay their money, they start the first little bit, and they get stalled. doesn't resonate with them, they don't understand it, they don't commit the time, all that type of stuff. So if you don't choose the right how, it can be overwhelming and it can literally set you up for failure. So it's important to understand how, if that happens. So I'm just going to write down here, I've got my butt in the way here. It can be overwhelming, and you won't see me use this. It fixes that by doing this correctly. Now, one of the things about the choices that you have is that it can literally be delivered in bite-sized pieces. So you can take a big package, a big online course, a big $2,000 course, and say, okay, she says it's a year-long course. Holy crap, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in a year, but it's in bite-sized pieces, and you have access for a number of years. So you just have to keep it on your radar and pull those little pieces out. There's this really pretty bird just outside. There's a ladder outside the window. He just flew in, and I sense he's going upside down. He's a junco, so he goes upside down. Sorry, I have a friend that has a squirrel that runs across their video. I get birds. So it can be delivered in bite-sized pieces. So let's take it down here. So let's say you got this right here. You got the bite-sized pieces. So let's say you decide that you want to do something as an online course, or you want to do something online. Well, maybe you look at an option like doing something with a membership or a subscription where you pay a certain amount per month, a smaller amount. So a smaller amount, I have a smaller budget, so I could do that. I don't want to be overwhelmed, and I want bite-sized pieces. What about something that comes in, you get something once a week, small little pieces, but you always have access to it. So there's one option right there. So that's what's super cool about this. I love how, because there really is so many different, how, let's talk about this. I'm a visual person. I need to watch videos and I need to read. I don't learn as well hearing. I'm an exceptional listener, but as far as actually listening and learning, that's the stuff that I have running in the background that kind of goes in here. So that's the piece that is really important in the how. Do I need to look for something that's audio-based, written, or visual? And I'm going to put visual because it could be video, it could be a Zoom type call, Skype, FaceTime, whatever you want to call it. Something like this, a pre-recorded something. All those things. Think about that. Those pieces will help you get past this log jam that you've run into. And again, we're not talking about massive steps here. So that's your how. Okay, so I know you know that there are 2 left, right? Because you figured this out, because you're just that smart. Well, what order are they? Well, my next step is, what color haven't we used? Oh, let's use black just because. So, my board is temporarily up here because this is not my normal shooting studio. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to go over here. My next step is when. When do I take the next step? I think that this is one of the things in my experience that throws people completely off the rails, because there's no middle ground. I don't know why it is as humans, but there seems to be, except for people that are really kind of dialed in and they've done the practice and they really kind of get it, we either jump too soon, particularly in dog training. It happens. We take that next step way too soon, or we don't take it at all. We just do the same stuff over and over and over again. So you see those two points? while you were away, I took I had to just make a little change here because we've got a heater that comes on, and in my great enthusiasm to do this, I forgot to turn it down so it wouldn't come on. So while you were away, you might have noticed I took off the extra stuff on the side here. So just so that you, so there's the squirrel. Along with the birds, we got the squirrels too. There's a whole cedar hedge running down the side there, and while we're snowing outside, the squirrels were away for a few days. It got really cold, and now they're back out because there are 4 gigantic oak trees in the yard, and it's like a squirrel utopia. They just come in. So back to this. Those are our 2 areas. Now in dog training, like I said, people tend to go on this side. They tend to take that next step too soon, which erodes your foundations because you haven't built your building blocks. And that's one of the challenges with dogs, is because if you're not really in tune to their confidence, how they show their confidence, how they show their clarity, and so on, you can think they get it, but it doesn't show up until maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 steps later that, oops, you forgot this. And if you've followed my story of Ducati, you'll know that that almost shut my dog training down for her with Ducati, my Gordon setter, because I listened to the wrong people. Very good friends, very talented, world level competitors, etc., but totally the wrong, and I didn't read the signs. So one of the common reasons that people jump too soon on the when is because it's a human flaw, because we get bored doing the same thing over and over again. I see a lot of comments on social media, my dog is bored. Your dog is not bored. Dogs don't get bored. Dogs are confused, lacking confidence, and we get bored. It's one of those things of being the higher level on this mammal species, is that we have the ability to get bored. So dogs don't get bored, but that is a flaw, and that is going to come back and bite you in the butt. It always does. It doesn't matter who you are and what level you are. If you jump too soon, it will bite you. Now, another way that you'll know whether it's the right time to take the next step, and again, I think it's important that you remember this. These all go back. These all keep coming back to this. If you're not sure, let's say you're a diver. Let's say you're a diver. Not an Olympic diver, you're a diver. And you've been diving off the springboard for a while. But when you sit down and you think, okay, I want to compete at the Ontarios. I want to do something a little bit higher. I'm happy with this, but I see something in me that says I could be awesome on that board up there. I think it's the 3 meter. I think it's the 3 meter board up there. I could be awesome up there. I would like to try that because I would like to be X. Right there. Why? Why do you want to do that next step? Sometimes you just need to go back and do it just a little, oh, yeah, that's good. I'm good. That's why I want to do it. But, and this is a big but, sometimes when you just need to listen to your gut. Your gut instinct, your sixth sense, your women's intuition that says, yeah, that is the step that I need to take. I do that. I do 2 things. My 2 things are gut and my dogs. In my dog training, my dogs are almost always the ones that say, you know what, we could do that. We're ready for the next step. And they're always like billboard banner clear when they're not ready to take the next step. There is no mistaking their signs when they're not ready. But when they are, woohoo! It's like rocket fuel. Super amazing. Now, the one thing that you have to remember, whether you're doing anything, Whether you're cooking in the kitchen, whether you're grooming your dog, whether you're doing ballet, whether you're going out to learn to drive a new car, that just amazing new car that you just bought that has a whole different set of things. Taking the next step is always uncomfortable, scary. It just is. That's the nature of stepping into the next step. And it doesn't matter whether it's, oh, I want to do this, because you'll never know if you can do it if you don't try it. Really. So that's important. You'll see it all over social media. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. Well, most people don't even know what their comfort zone is. So they don't know how to get out of it. I'm going to tell you, if you're trying something and it feels uncomfortable, it's because you're out of your comfort zone. Yeah! Way to go. We've got all that. Now, we're down to the last one. And then I'm going to take you through an example of someone starting into the canine conditioning world. Whether you call it the Fit Paws world, whether you call it Total Fit world, whether you call it body awareness, fit body, dog wellness for dogs, we'll talk about that particular example. So let's go on to the very last one, which is it is going to do it in red because we haven't used red yet. Anybody have any ideas what it is? Yeah, it's not rocket science to figure this one out. Where? So, what do we do with where? So I'm going to tell you, with where, it is probably the secret sauce for me. These guys are all, they're pretty straightforward. You do this, do this, do this, do this. But the reality is, where is probably the most overlooked technique, and I'm going to call it technique or tactic or strategy in dog training to progress to the next step, to progress your dog training. I see it all the time. I'm just going to do a little bit of an example. Some of you may be familiar with Susan Garrett and her game, It's Your Choice. It's your choice, and we offer a program called Choice 1.0, which is based on her system, plus some pieces taken from Sylvia Trinkman's system, and all put under our umbrella with our tweak on it, how we do it, how we use it. But I see it all the time. It is the secret magic solution to every single problem that you have with your dog. Whether it's your dog's wellness, whether it's your dog's behavior, whether it's your dog's eating, whether it's, it's your dog sport, it is the magic. But it has everything to do with where. Because people stall. They say, yeah, I know the hot dog game. We did that in puppy class. But did you progress it? Because it's so overlooked, because it's so simple. Because if a dog can have self-management, and I call it self-management, in the kitchen with no distractions, doesn't mean that you can do that exact same thing in the back of your SUV or your hatchback at a very busy dog sport event or pet expo or so on, with tons of dogs walking by right at the back of the car, if you haven't built up to that. That's where comes in. It's so important. It's the piece that if you don't focus on where, all this is going to fall apart. Because you need to do that. And it needs to be a strategy. So you've figured out why. You've figured out what you want to do. Now and then you've gone and you know how you're going to do it. You know when you're going to do it, and you're going to know where you're going to do it. So your next step, if you've got these 4 all nailed down and you're at a roadblock, you're at a log jam, where? What are you doing that you could change the location and make that your next step. We can all do it. Oh, my voice just did a little bit of a crazy thing. But we literally can all do it. That's what's the important piece about this. Now, where, and I sort of alluded to it in the last little bit, is the fundamental basis of proofing and generalization. You get that down pat, you get a method for doing that, you're gold. And where can literally 10 times your results. Because we give up too soon. Again, possibly because we're bored back there. Possibly because we're looking at someone else's results. Possibly because we set unrealistic expectations for where we would be, how long it would take us to get there. So if you do these pieces, your process is going to be so much more pleasant. It's going to be so much more fun. Doing where correctly is going to build super confidence. It truly is. Like I've said, you've heard me say secret sauce, magic. It's where. It's a super confidence driver. Now, with where, one of the funky things about where is the fact that if you get into the habit of really understanding your where, seizing little opportunities. You guys have, I think have seen me in a number of videos. You'll see lots of videos where I'm shooting them. I've got I think it's in the stand. I think it's in the workbook that we have. It's one of the workbooks that we provide for free. The sit stand park workbook. You'll see videos in there where I'm doing some of my training at a rest stop, welcome stop in Irwin, Tennessee, which is up in the mountains. Backdrop is beautiful. At Christmas, there's some Christmas decorations out there. We just stopped at a rest stop. We do some stuff there. You'll see some videos where I was doing some stuff at Tallulah Gorge at an outlook overlooking Tallulah Gorge. You literally, when you get where dialed in as part of your process to understand what is my next step, what next step do I take, etc., you are going to become a opportunity magnet. And you're going to start seeing opportunities, and you're going to start seizing those opportunities and making them into your platform, how you do things. And how can you do that? Because you embrace your moments. It's why we call our company Moments for Excellence. Training, teaching, learning happens best in moments. It doesn't happen best in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half-hour sessions. It happens best in moments. And that is how you do it. So the last thing that I want to say about this before we move on to an example of someone starting. When you're looking at seizing opportunities like I talked about in where, please make sure that they always fit the criteria of your why. Otherwise you're going to send yourself off down a rabbit hole of no return and waste valuable resources of yours and your dog's. So let's talk about an example that we could do. I'm going to go through pretty quickly. We're going to go through each one. We talked about why. I gave you some examples at the beginning of how to figure out what your why is, your goals, your objectives, your targets. Is it going to be more? Is it going to be more fun? Is it going to help my dog's wellness? Can I improve his wellness? Can I take some weight off? All that type of stuff. Those are your whys. Not talking fancy. Oh, it's my passion. I love it. No, we're not doing down that. Sure, if you just love it, and you're obsessed with it, cool. But that's not what I'm talking. That's not what I'm talking about. Now we're talking about what. So how do you find what? And then we're talking specifically in the context of someone who has said, I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start in canine conditioning and body awareness. What do I do? What's my next step? First of all, I'm going to say YouTube is your friend. YouTube is totally your friend. Go on and just query, okay, just put the word canine conditioning in there and just start looking at what's there. You can put through, the two that I would put in there is canine conditioning and fit paws. And you're going to get a bunch of stuff, because I'm all about posture and foundations, and there is, they're not always in sync with the way that I teach, but it's a starting point, okay? It's a super starting point. So you can also go search some Facebook groups. Limited groups, the biggest one is one called Canine Conditioning and Body Awareness. And you can go just look through the files, you can look through the post. You can get all sorts of information on there on what could I do, what do I want to learn, is there something there that I would like to learn, all that stuff. Maybe this just point blank isn't for me. Yeah, you can rule that out. There's no reason in all of this, if you go through this process and what you thought was going to be your next step or whatever totally isn't, bail. Don't hang on to something that isn't going to do it for you, okay? You can ask someone you maybe have seen do it. You can at pet expos, sometimes there's people there with that are dealers of some of the companies. There are people sometimes that post on their social media. You can ask anyone. You can ask a friend that does agility. Do you know anybody that does this? Do you do any of this kind of stuff? And the other thing that you can do, and this is super important, this is one of my favorite areas, and while what I've talked about does fall under this category, you can research. You can research canine conditioning. You can find out information about where it evolved through from rehab, how it's used in rehab as a segue. You could ask, if you're wondering what it is, you could always ask your vet. You might be able to ask your massage therapist for your own self. They may be able to point you in the right direction. So lots and lots of different ways of finding what. And that'll get you started on the what. Then you want to look at the how. How am I going to learn the what? Once you've narrowed down a few things, and I've alluded to it a little bit, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. How am I going to learn? I can take an online course. I can go to a group class, a live group class. I can join a webinar or a master class and get a high level. I could get private lessons. I could hire a private coach. I could self-learn. All of those things are possible. I could get a membership, a membership subscription, lots of different options. So that's where you need to just know what works for you. And if you don't know, then go and give it a try. You'll never know until you actually try. And on that's my perfect segue into the next one, when. So an example for a canine conditioning person looking to get started in there to begin, just try it. If it fails miserably, then you know it was the wrong next step. And obviously you're not going to, I think although common sense is not always common practice, I think most of us would have a clue as to what might be a bit too much for our dogs. And that might be injurious to them, so we want to be careful of that. So just be aware. Let me give you a global statement. If we're talking about canine conditioning and you're thinking that you can put your dog on a thing that wobbles and wiggles like that, and your dog's not familiar with stuff like that, no, please don't. Keep it smaller steps. Your coach, let's say back here you hired a coach. Your coach says you're ready. Cool. Frequently when our coach says we're ready, we say we're not. But that's why we hired them as a coach. So your trainer says you're ready, your instructor says you're ready. Anything like that. Somebody says you're ready. And usually when they say you're ready, you probably were ready a little bit sooner, but they weren't quite sure. And sometimes they say you're ready and you're not, but that's your job to figure that piece out. So in figuring that piece out, you heard me say it earlier on, a lot of the time my next step in this particular scenario comes when my dogs tell me that they're ready. So if we're doing an exercise and they offer a behavior to me that takes what we're doing right now to a higher level of challenge, that means that we're ready for the next step. They're just offering. So if I was to give you an example, if you're familiar with the Peanut or the Fitbone or anything like that, my dog is got two front feet on it, like this. They've got two front feet on it, and their tail is wagging, and they're happy, and we're in nice position, two front feet like that, back feet, nice alignment, and the dog lifts up a paw as if to shake a paw. That adds challenge because now all the weight on the front is on this foot right here. That says to me the dog's good. We're ready for our next step. Not sure what the next step is, but they're ready for that. And as we close, just to let you know, make sure that you sign up for the, I think it's on the webpage. I will put a link into it. Find your starting point. Whether or not you're interested in anything that with canine conditioning or body awareness, anyone who owns a dog should be doing this assessment. This assessment is a tremendous way to predict your dog's future wellness. And I'm not talking, well, maybe I am. I'm talking about physical wellness. Will they be comfortable into their aging years? Will they be comfortable as they get into their adulthood, etc., etc.? It's a five simple assessments that you do with your dog. You don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need anything. You just need a nice non-slip floor, video camera or smartphone if you have it. It is a superb thing that I believe that every single dog owner should be doing. And again, the link is down below, and you just pop your first name in and your email address. We don't use those for anything else, but I would really like you to do that so that you know some benchmarks before you start into all this. I hope this is all helpful for you guys. Love talking to you guys. We are coming back to you on Thursdays every single week, and so we'll see you next week. As always, live inspired, live the unshackled life. Bye for now. It's Debbie.